Hey, it's the K-tastic one on Money Chaos, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment podcast.
Hey, this is the grinder, Mark Shaw, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Dear lovers, this is the real life Cupid, and you're here with Wrestling with Entertainment. Love, Doug.
This is the visionary Von Vertigo, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hi, this is the Princess of Perfection, Savannah Summers, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
What's up, y'all? This is the girl from Ocean Avenue, Kennedi Copeland, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
This is the Queen of Voodoo, Mama Shango, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
This is the Golden Grappler, Travis Huckabee, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, bringing you the latest exclusive breaking news, previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, and everything in between every Saturday, and interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox. Sponsored by Rogue Energy. Use Wrestling with E for 10% off your next purchase. As of course, I am James J. Alongside Kaliko Yachts.
5 o'clock somewhere. Wine of the day is taken. Because I like it and it just sounds like the movie. So I'm just going to drink that shit.
And Scooter Dust.
The only thing worse than ants in your pants is uncles.
And it's a great day for wrestling because we are wrestling with the Golden Grappler, Travis Huckabee. How are you,
That's
Travis?
Me. I'm good, and sometimes I tell dad jokes, and sometimes he laughs.
Yes!
Did I do this right?
Yes.
We are going to have a ball.
Yes, this is already interesting.
I felt, man, I'm glad I was able to think of one. Oh, man.
In fact, we may have two balls.
I never felt so nervous leaning into an intro.
And happy birthday as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's tomorrow, but very, very appreciated.
Yes, absolutely. We got to sing happy birthday as well.
No. Only if we do it Kaliko's way.
Yeah.
Which is happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday
Okay, enough.
to
We don't
you.
want to get sued.
Happy birthday. See, I gotta get y'all on that one. I'm gonna send all of y'all that, and that's mandatory. All birthdays.
Should my ears be bleeding?
So
Yeah, because I sing like a dead giraffe. So yeah.
Oh, boo! Too soon.
Could
Too
you
soon
tell
to
us
what?
what's coming
April
up
the
next for
giraffe.
you and where we can find you on social media?
So best way to find me, social media, I've got a Twitter and an Instagram, at Travis_Huckabee. It is the same for both of them. Do not go to at Travis Huckabee on Twitter. It is some guy who I think last tweeted like 6 years ago, and I'm so mad that I can't get that handle, but that's a story for another day. As far as where you can see me, about a week ago at the time this is getting released, I had a match with Lee Moriarty at Limitless Wrestling. Not Stuff for No Fools. I forget the name of it. Crap. Anyway, Limitless Wrestling at IWTV. It is one of my favorite matches that I've had in a while.
Ooh.
So if you haven't seen that, make sure you check that out. Also, on the horizons for me, I've got some stuff coming out soon enough with Camp Leapfrog. It's another promotion that I do a lot of stuff with. Pizza Party Wrestling. I think NYWC. There's a handful of.
Did you say NYWC?
Why I did.
That's where I trained.
So I am. I do think I have a match that will be getting released. I have no idea when, but me along with some fellow former Chikara wrestlers went and we did a thing. We did the deal. And I think it's getting released on their YouTube channel.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Damn. Travis Huckabee keeping busy.
Yeah, that's kind of the goal. Yeah, problem is I have no idea when half the stuff gets released, but I guess just keep an ear out. As like I mentioned earlier, my social media is the best sort of place to see about anything coming up for me.
Oh, absolutely. We will keep up ourselves updated, and you should too. And you said it just a moment ago. You've been working for Limitless and leapfrog. Can you tell us about your relationship with those two companies?
So I think I might have touched on this. I don't even remember at this point, all the concussions. Anyway, Camp Leapfrog, it's sort of what happened to all the people that were associated with Chikara. Maybe not all of them, but most of them. After Chikara shut down, we needed there was so many people kind of left without a home. And, there was this big kind of void that Chikara left. So Chris Levin and Sam Laterna, they kind of started their own thing with the help of, I think it's High Tension Wrestling, set up Camp Leapfrog. It's kind of like if you remember the show Salute Your Shorts.
Yes.
It's
Camp Anawana.
Yes.
Camp Anawana, yes. I love
It's
that.
kind of reminiscent of that. It's got a very lighthearted sort of feel to it, but also, it's full of very, very talented people doing a lot of very interesting things. So that's Camp Leapfrog. Another sort of thing that kind of came about the closing of Chikara is that I went up to Limitless Wrestling for the taping of season 2 of The Road. That's their own weekly show that they release, I think, every Wednesday. Hey. So you can check them out at the same time, either right before or right after listening to this, mayhaps.
Absolutely.
But I went up there. They wanted to bring in a group of outside people, so I went up with formerly known as Hermit Crab, now known as King Crab, Big Calix, Boomer Hatfield, and Jeremy Leary. We had a group in there, the Hive. We got in there, we started wrecking stuff up, and I guess people really enjoyed the stuff that I did. So their Limitless has decided to bring me in for a few of their, I don't want to say main card shows, but some of their much more pay-per-view type of environment, type of feels. They're big events, not their weekly show. So that is a very brief, very quick explanation of it all.
All right. Now, Scooter, you had a question?
By the way, the event for Limitless Games We Play.
That was it.
Now, I'm wondering, should I go on the wrestling road, or should I take this to something very interesting?
Just don't forget the Burger King question.
How about I forget you, James? So, you know what? Let's go right to the hard stuff. If I asked you about the Hyperion Fragment and the last remnant of the Demon Wars, what would you say?
Oh my goodness.
All right, so before you answer, according to our research, it appears you have a fondness for tabletop RPGs, Dungeons and Dragons, and stuff like that. Yes, we came across the episode where you play Scarlet Heroes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah, we do that. Yeah, we do that. Take that, Logan Black. No, I'm sorry.
Whoa.
sorry. Nothing but love for Logan. Nothing but love.
We love you. Just don't kill us.
He will mess you up.
Oh, of course. He lives one borough over from me.
He wouldn't mess you up if he wasn't also like the sweetest person I've ever met.
Yes, he is a sweet guy. Nothing but love. But how did you come across tabletop gaming, and what is that to you in terms of your life?
So it's not quite as prevalent as I probably wish it was. I don't know if that's a proper sort of answer to it, but there was a guy who was associated with Chikara and a few other things, Scott Holiday, sort of a friend of mine. There was at one point in history where Quack really wanted everyone to get on podcasts, really wanted to talk to people and like tell them about the things that we were doing. And Scott Holiday, he had his friend Jason, who runs Party of One. He was friends with him, and he said, "Hey, if anyone's interested, like, this is a podcast, and you can do this thing, and you can talk about whatever, and go about the thing." So I went and I did that. That was my first time ever playing Dungeons and Dragons, and because of my personality, I went out and bought a set of dice for that one specific occasion. So that was the first time I played it. I haven't actually played it that much. I feel like I listen to more podcasts of people playing it. There's only a couple of podcasts that I regularly listen to. So there's Party of One that I mentioned. I'll listen to that every so often. Logan Black, who we already mentioned.
Year one.
The Brotherly Love podcast. That's some friends in the Philly area. And then also one by the name of Dungeons and Daddies. Don't know if you guys have heard of this, but it is one of my favorite podcasts. Are you guys familiar with this at all?
I can't say that I am.
I need to.
So let me see if I can give you the spark notes on it. So there's technically 5 people. One is the DM, but they play a very, very loose version of Dungeons and Dragons. So the 4 people role play as real world dads that get flung into the Forgotten Realms in search of their sons that got like kidnapped or missing, whatever. And in the Forgotten Realms, they turn into various Dungeons and Dragons. I don't want to say tropes, but their own classes. Like there's a stepfather who becomes a rogue and like he's got stupid, crazy sneak skills. There's a deadbeat rock and roll dad who's got insane. He's a bard and he's got insane charisma checks. There's a stay-at-home coach dad who is a barbarian, and then a hippie granola munching nature dad who becomes a druid. So it's these 4 people playing 4 real world dads in this very kind of fish out of water environments. And it's
great.
It's fantastic.
I will say there are a lot of Dungeons and Dragons games happening on Twitch, and a lot of celebrities. And in the coming month, I'm getting involved, not exactly playing, but into a D&D session with the son of former WWE superstar Rico Constantino. But to piggyback off that and get us back on wrestling, he said the name Quack, and of course that refers to the well respected, maybe one of the most underrated people in wrestling in entirety, Mike Quackenbush. Now, he had a big influence on you. What would you say is the one or two things that he really taught you that still sticks with you to this day?
That's really something I got to go and kind of dive into my memory banks. I'll start with this as I try to think of any sort of pearls of wisdom. I would not wrestle the style that I do now if it wasn't for seeing Mike Quackenbush. Now, I know there's a lot of people that have very mixed feelings about him, and, they're entitled to their own opinions, but this is really just sort of statement of facts. I draw a lot of my influences, or I drew a lot of my early influences from the old World of Sport wrestlers, guys like John Cortez, Steve Gray, Johnny Saint, Johnny Kidd, the list goes on and on and on. The first time I ever saw any of that was, I think it was either 2009 or 2011. I watched a tag match. It was Mike Quackenbush and Johnny Saint versus Cole Cabana and Johnny Kidd. And they wrestled for a good 20-30 minutes. And bear in mind that at the time, Johnny Saint, I think, was in his 60s.
Yeah.
And he could still go like anything else. But this is something that I had never seen before. And when I, all the years later that I finally started training, probably the first car ride that I had where I drove with Quack, it was me asking about him or about any of these other World of Sport wrestlers. So I think he had sort of seen that and sort of nudged me in that direction, told me people to watch, gave me sort of things to, I wouldn't say necessarily things to look out for, but at least directed me to paths for me to kind of find my own way. I think that's I realize I keep rambling, but that's a lot of the way that Quack sort of did things. I don't know how much people talk about the process, but Quack would have his own sort of ideas in his mind of what people can do, what they should do, what he thinks fits for them. He would give them like insanely vague directives and just sort of like nudge them in a certain direction and let people, I think this was intentional, letting people kind of find out their interpretation of it.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, so that's, I'm sorry, you were saying?
No, I was going to say, like, he already kind of saw what you could be before maybe you kind of saw it, right?
I think he saw an idea. I think he knew that I had interest in World of Sport, and that, I remember there was a drive that I had where I talked with him about Catweasel for 10, 15 minutes. And by the way, if you've never seen Catweasel, look up World of Sport Catweasel and you will not be disappointed. But I think he saw the interest in that, and he saw that I have an amateur wrestling background, and he saw a few other things. And I was like, he's probably just like, I don't really have that many World of Sport grapplers in my toy box. It'd be fun to play with something like that. Yeah, so I think he kind of saw that. He might have had an idea of what he was looking for, and I kind of turned it into my own thing from there.
All right. Kaliko, you have a question?
Man, that actually answered my question because the one thing that I notice when you do wrestle is the amateur style because I wrestled in high school, so I could kind of see it when it's there. It just like boom, I can see it like from a mile away. But I do have a question in regards of your style because it is so throwback and it is so to the point where wrestling at a time people actually believed it was a sport. In today's environment, do you is it difficult with other wrestlers considering that they're probably not as catch technical as you? And we all have this thing, styles make fights, but if you could elaborate like on the pros and cons of having a style in a sense where a lot of people know it, but they don't see it as much.
Yeah. I think I know what you're getting at. So as far as cons go, I'll start with those just because they're easiest and probably readiest available at mind. For my first year or so, I did not. I'll openly admit this. I think for my first year or so, I kind of had no idea what I was. It was very difficult for me to figure out how to have matches because a lot of the stuff that I had sort of relied on, I do a lot of grappling, but if the other person can't, then, that kind of takes away from it. It doesn't really work if the other person can't.
Right.
So I don't think I really sort of found out what I was doing until I broke away from the Rumblebees and became a bad guy. It was kind of around there where I started figuring out what I was doing. And I think it came down to figuring out stuff that I could do with anyone. I know it's maybe that's a cop-out answer, but I've sort of had enough experience and I've got my own sort of tricks and things that I know that I could do with, I could do this with this kind of person and, I could do this with that. And having a better understanding of how things worked in general. So that, I guess that'll be on the con list of, I think I really struggled in my first year or two. As far as pros to what I do, I think I don't mean to sound arrogant. I don't mean to sound any sort of way, but I do think that I'm one of the better people, at least that I've seen, one of the better people in the country at the kind of stuff that I do.
Yeah, you are.
Get your flowers, man. Get your flowers.
Again, I don't mean to sound arrogant or anything, but between just trying to understand how things work, whether it's how movement works, whether it's how the body bends and things like that, and just coming up with my own sort of ways of being different, of doing things that, you don't normally see. I think you'll see a lot of Canadian destroyers and super kicks and you'll get a certain reaction to it. But if you see someone's knee get snapped in some weird way, that's not something you're desensitized to. Like you could, you watch a Saw movie once and you cringe it, but if you binge watch, the first 4 or 5 Saw movies, then after a certain point you see someone get their head smashed in by ice blocks and that doesn't really do anything to you anymore. So I think...
Sorry. That should have not happened.
So I guess sort of to my point, the stuff that I take pride in the stuff that I do being different and looking like murder, as terrible as that might sound, but I think that's a pro to it. It's something that sets me aside. I feel like on a good sort of day, depending on how much I want to get dead that day or not. I don't, have to put my body on the line as much. Like, God bless these flippy boys.
Flippy boys.
Like, God bless them. It's entertaining as heck to watch, but I'm also aware of some of the risks and some of the dangers involved in that. So, I can relatively get by without doing that.
I really
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because especially in the sense of what you do, to me at least, it seems way more credible and believable from the sport aspect of wrestling. I get that we always sometimes get caught in suspending disbelief in a sense, but you also want to look at some stuff and be like, holy hell, that hurts. And you are one of those few that actually do moves like that. Because when I see you, and I also think of like a Dean Malenko, a Daniel Bryan, a Pete Dunne, those guys that had those moves in their repertoire where they would put the moves in, and it's more Bob Backlund, exactly, where they would do the moves and it seems more believable than a 450 splash. And plus, you'll last longer because you could do it till you're like 88.
I really didn't want to interrupt you there, because definitely, but that really kind of made me think of another sort of soapbox I could stand on. Maybe not soapbox, but another sort of rant and tangent I could go off on. But
go on. We love that.
So, for a while, I was a coach at the Wrestle Factory. I taught a lot of the beginners. You'll see people at Camp Leapfrog now that were students of mine, whether it's Abby Jane or Pancakes or, a handful of others. Anyway, I would I would occasionally go off on tangents in these classes where I would talk about kind of my philosophy towards wrestling. And the stuff that I like, the stuff that I always try to do in my matches is stuff that you can relate to. The guys that you mentioned, so you mentioned Pete Dunne for one. His big thing, at least as of late, has been like the finger breaking.
Yes.
And I think that is a perfect example of something that's very relatable, because everyone has had like their finger get caught or twisted or bent in a weird way, especially if you've got an older sibling. So you naturally see something like that. You see a body part get twisted and contorted in an angle that is not supposed to be. You can recognize whether it's like uncanny valley or not. You can recognize that something is wrong, and that naturally gives you certain motions towards it. You can see, someone get their foot smashed a certain way, and that, takes you back to the time you like kicked a door and like you couldn't walk for a week. So a lot of the stuff I do, I try to make relatable in that very same sort of sense. Not to say the problem with something like a 450, because again, it's incredibly impressive, and like you're landing on top of someone from however high that jump is. The problem with something like that is that, most people who are watching this, they've never had that happen to them. They've never had something similar happen to it, unless they have really weird friends, which, to be fair, wrestling fans are weird. No offense to wrestling fans. I love wrestling fans, but it's a weird bunch.
None taken.
Yeah.
But there's things like that, like you just don't have any sort of frame of reference for. So a lot of the stuff I try to do is relatable in that aspect, and that's something that I've at least tried to push on to some of my students.
Absolutely. Now can you talk about your experience wrestling in the pandemic era of pro wrestling? And maybe what it's like to go into a show with no crowd?
The very first time I did that was the strangest thing in the world. So, pandemic started, and at the time, Chikara was still a thing. We were filming for our weekly show, Action Arcade. So the first few episodes, we were able to stick a few matches in between, other of our wrestling shows. So, we would have a normal event, and then we would stick 1 or 2 Action Arcade matches in there that we would use later for the episode. Yay, TV magic. Anyway, we got through, all the content that we shot of that, and then it was time for, okay, show's got to keep going. So I think there was a story that happened at Chikara involving the Crucible and those kind of rules and the Cybernetico and other stuff. And anyway, they had a reason why there was no crowd. Anyway, I had a match. It was me and my tag team partner at the time, Icarus, against the team of the Red Queen and One-Eye Jack, who, as an aside, One-Eye Jack still has the coolest wrestling mask I've ever seen.
It really is a cool mask.
I digress.
I mean, but the question is, does he retain both eyes?
That's not a question I think I can answer.
I apologize for interrupting you.
You would have to ask the man himself, and I think all I've ever heard that man say was "hit me." Well, yay, card puns.
We'll try to make that happen another time. But continue. I'm sorry.
So the match we had was in front of no audience, and I guess the sort of directive that we were given to kind of make up for it was, think of, Saturday morning cartoons where there's all that banter going back and forth between the characters. It's like, okay, that's a way to look at it, but it's still weird. It's very strange. So that's sort of one end of that spectrum. You've got the matches in front of no fans, and that's such a difficult thing when you're so used to gauging reaction and your pacing and everything based on that. I was also very fortunate. I mentioned earlier, but my time with Limitless at the tapings for The Road. So, in the stuff that I've done for Limitless, we would go up. Everyone would get tested the week of. We would, drive up. We'd do every precaution we could at the event, mandatory masks the entire time, temperatures at the door, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And anyone who is not actively wrestling or getting ready to wrestle, they were in the crowd and they gave you your sort of reactions there. And part of that was great. I think that up until that point, I had a few different matches there for season 2. I had a singles match with Perry Von Vicious, with Ashby Vox, Davey N, and then I had a 5-on-5 match in the finale. Yeah. It was me and the other members of the Hive versus what was it? Nick Stop, Kirby Wackerman, Danger Kid, Tyree, and Johnny Miyagi. I think that was the 5.
And Nick Stop.
Yeah, I thought he was the first one I said.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But yeah, those singles matches that I had, they were some of the most fun that I had. Just wrestling matches in general, they were some of my favorite matches that I had in a long time. I think some of that was I got to have that crowd again, and I got to have the kind of matches that I wanted to have, and just everything about it. I think it brought out some of my better work in a while. But that's sort of different end of pandemic wrestling. That was, we got a crowd, but also you were in front of a crowd that knew how to be a good crowd, that knew like the worst thing you could do when wrestling is to hear silence.
Right.
So, you know, everyone there was kind of playing along with it. You know, they were very aware of the fact that if something was good, you cheered. If something was bad, you booed. So if anything, I might have gotten spoiled having that. It's a bit of a daunting thought that soon I'm gonna see fans that weren't like, that really have no reason to cheer if they don't want to cheer, or boo if they don't want to boo.
You have to.
Yeah,
continue.
It's a scary idea, but I'm optimistic at least. I'm trying to be optimistic.
So Limitless spoiled you a little bit.
What's that?
Limitless spoiled you a little bit, giving you the loud reactions.
Well, I think it's other wrestlers in general.
Right.
There's a lot of terrible people in wrestling. That's not. I hope I'm not spoiling that for anyone, but
Unfortunately,
like some of the best.
Well.
But
Yeah.
some of the best people that I've ever met have been through wrestling. You know, I mentioned him earlier, Logan Black. He's genuinely one of the nicest people that I've met. This is gonna go off on me, like just giving praise to people. I hope you can accept that for a bit.
Oh, no worries.
My tag team partner, Matt Mikowski, he blows me away, both with how good he is and also how humble he is. My former tag partner, Solo Darling, she did a lot for me in my first couple years. She did like a lot of things that you wouldn't normally expect to need help with, but she still helped with. And so many other people. The list goes on and on. Razor Wing, Max Zero, any of my students, Molly McCoy, Boomer Hatfield, Calix. It legitimately, the list goes on and on and on.
Absolutely. I feel like I should have played like the playoff music from the Academy Awards.
Sorry, I'm just
No, I'm joking.
Yeah,
Just a
no,
joke.
I get it.
No. I'm just having a little fun.
Well, that's no problem. I don't know. I'm trying to be more appreciative of people giving shout out.
Absolutely, because we wouldn't have the Travis Huckabee we're talking to right now if it wasn't the people that made him the way he is right now.
Very well put.
And speaking of Travis Huckabee right now, you ranked 359 on PWI's 500 list, which is a very respectable number considering what PWI is. What did that mean to you?
It blew my mind a little bit. I think like if you look at the people who I was ranked around, I think 457 was Matt Mikowski, 458 was Matt Tremont, there was me, and then 460 I think was Lindsay Dorado. Look at some of the people that I beat. One of my trainers now, world famous CB, formerly known as Cheeseburger. I beat him. I beat Shelton Benjamin. I beat everyone at Chikara save Matt Mikowski and formerly known as Dasher Hatfield. I beat all of them. Not that it's any sort of contest, really, but
You're definitely winning it.
I think it's really just a matter of that being some kind of validation to even be considered in that sort of placement.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just the idea itself. I have no idea what I'll be at next year, and like if I'll just be like, to hell with it. But
Well, hopefully lower on the list next year.
Or do you mean
you never.
higher?
Higher. Lower, lower numbers are the higher numbers, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm bad
golf
at math.
score. It's golf score.
Thank you. Scooter, you have a question.
Yes. Well, going back to something you had mentioned earlier about One-Eyed Jack, you started out really wanting to compete under a mask
Mm-hmm.
because you loved luchadors. You had a great fondness for Rey Mysterio, and I'm curious. Did you have any designs for a mask, and what they would have looked like had you gone down that route?
When I was like the big Chikara fan when I was younger, I don't know. I remember every year I had this character that I would make in whatever WWE game it was. So I had that, and that character wore a mask. It was white and black, and I think I used like the Kane mask as the base. So not like the full faced one, but like the one when he was
2002
It was like the one when he was teaming up with RVD, where he was talking more, and
Yes.
think like that promo where he talks about hungry, hungry hippos with like
Love that promo.
think like that kind of mask. That was sort of the character that I always created, and I think I made probably 11 different variations of this character throughout the games that I played. I don't know if you consider that. When I started wrestling, before I was given any sort of thought towards my character and everything, I remember I don't know if this is throwing him under the bus or not, but if you guys are familiar with Chikara, there was a character known as Argus. He was the Gecko-Roman wrestler, and nothing against the guy who portrayed Argus, but that was not exactly the best fit for him. I remember like watching him. It was like, oh, come on, I actually have an amateur background. Like, I could do that. Like, it'd be cool to team with a Fidian. And so I jokingly had ideas that I was going to be like the Sin Cara Negro to, Argus. I was going to come in. I was going to be Argus Negro or whatever stupid name I had. And then I would just like take his spot, and then he would go off and do whatever thing he was going to do.
All right.
That's
All
interesting. And Kaliko, you have a question? I believe we lost Kaliko once again.
Uh-oh. Now
Oh, we were doing so well.
Yeah, he had the sound issue.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Right, I have a question. Oh, no, he's not. Kaliko, you have a question.
See, I had to jump. See, Jitsy's trying to kill me, but it's going to take more than that, you bastards. Anywho. You recently had a match on Limitless with Miss Masha Slamovich.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I noticed is like your comfort in wrestling with a woman, because one, your style is not, it's very technically based. So I just wanted to know how comfortable are you wrestling intergender matches considering your style, especially in a way where it's like you were able to like get heat just with holds. And
Hmm.
that to me was more important than anything because you didn't even have to physically like you did, but you didn't even have to just by doing certain holds and doing your one-handed and like it just looked so believable. So I just wanted you to delve in on the comfort level that you have wrestling with women.
I'll see if I can kind of dig into all of that. First of all, I found myself very fortunate that I got to have that match with Masha. I was a huge fan of her work, and she finally came back from Japan. Uh, I found out that she needed to drive up to Maine for it. I'm like, yeah, I'll drive you. And then just through doing that, I was like, hey, we should wrestle. Anyway, that's separate story. Remind me to come back to this because I'll tell you the story about driving back from Maine that day because that's a story.
All right.
Anyway, anyway, shoot, what was I even saying? So a big thing at the Wrestle Factory in Chikara coming up was that they were really trying to not have any sort of gender classes, anything like that. It didn't matter if the person was male, female, non-binary, anything else. You were expected to treat the person as what they were, a wrestler. So my entire kind of upbringing through all my professional wrestling training was, if you're in the ring with someone, it doesn't matter who they are, how big, small, gender, whatever, like you treat them as a wrestler. So that was that. I think my style tends to go very well in intergender matches for one reason or another. I think because I'm all on the smaller end, spoilers, I'm not 8 feet tall.
You lied to us.
Sorry, I'm not Big Calyx. Only Big Calyx is that big. I think because I'm on the smaller end, there are women like Davienne, like Masha, like Solo, who, they don't have to feel like they're gonna get completely squished by someone that's 8 feet tall. I think they could still do a lot of the stuff that they're trying to do. And then it also allows me chances to, like, I could throw someone around. I think it's very easy for me to get booed when I'm wrestling a female. It's quite simple. Not to reduce it down to anything, not to reduce it down to gender expectations or anything like that. I think there's just a lot of people with like that background idea, like if they see, this dude fighting a female, they're naturally gonna like cheer for the female. I don't mean to sound sexist or anything. I think that's just my experience. Anyway, I'm going off on this whole other tangent that's probably going to end up me putting my foot in my mouth.
But basically, you're getting to it. You don't have the benefits of working intergender matches is you don't have to compromise your style of wrestling, and they don't kind of have to compromise theirs as well. You just could kind of have the same type of match you usually have.
Yeah, I think I also have the benefit of, because my style is very mat-based and very grapple-based, I don't have to do things like just blatantly backhand someone, because I think that has its own sort of connotations. I think it just tends to work out. Yeah. Works out. I enjoy the matches that I've gotten to have.
All right. And that road story you was teasing us with?
All right, so originally I was supposed to drive up with some of the people in the Hive. So Boomer Hatfield, maybe Big Calix, King Crab. Anyway, the GCW 24-hour stream just so happens that was on a Saturday, the weekend that they filmed, the weekend that they did the tapings for season 3 of The Road. So I think Boomer Hatfield pulled off of it because he wasn't going to be able to be there for Saturday. It's like, I'm going to be at this GCW thing. You know, I don't want to drive up like Sunday morning just to drive back Sunday night, because that is miserable. So yeah. Meanwhile, I'm a little bit crazy, and if you didn't know this about Masha, she's a lot of bit crazy.
Yes, we've had the pleasure of
Oh,
speaking
we know.
with Masha.
I absolutely love her. But she's definitely crazy. But yeah, so she was on the same show. We wrestled in the very same match. We had this giant 60-minute Cybernetico match. I showered off. I dropped her off at the Monster Factory where she had another booking, and then we drove straight up to Maine. We drove up there. I think I wrestled 3 matches while I was there. She wrestled maybe 2. I think Crab had 1. So I wrestled my 3 matches again because I'm crazy. And then we drove back. So we left there maybe 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Also, fun fact about that weekend, we had a massive snowstorm.
Oh, God.
Ooh. So, we knew it was coming. Before I even left from Maine, I got a text message from my mom saying that the snow started in New Jersey. It's like, oh, goody. Oh, boy. So we hit the road. I think right before we hit the road, Crab told me that he was feeling pretty crappy because he didn't sleep because, oh my God, this is a whole other story. How far back am I going to have to go? Do you guys mind if I derail this another time?
Please do. This is
Keep going.
So we had GCW. Masha had her thing at the Monster Factory. Then we drove up on Saturday. We got there maybe around midnight Saturday night. We stayed with a referee up there. I'm not going to throw his name out because I'm going to accuse him of murdering a family. Anyway, we stayed with someone up there. We roll up at like midnight. Like I send a guy a text message like, hey, we're here. I was like, cool, like doors open, you can come in. So I was half expecting like this dude to be passed out, whatever. But no, this guy was sitting in his living room eating Dominoes that showed up right before we did, watching I think the Royal Rumble from like 1987. Something like that. So he's just yeah, it's just him by himself in this house eating Dominoes, watching a old Royal Rumble. It's like, okay, so we're like standing there with our bags. I'm like, all right, I kind of want to crash. So it's like, okay, yeah. So upstairs, there's a room with a queen size bed. There's a room with like 2 kids' beds that you can push up against each other, and then there's an air mattress down here. Oh, so Crab stayed on the air mattress. Masha was in the room with the kids' beds pushed up against each other. and I had the queen size bed. While I was settling in for the night, a friend of mine FaceTimed me. She lives down in Texas. She FaceTimed me because she was out at a bar. She was drinking. She got what should have been a 5-minute Uber ride home that turned into a 20-minute Uber ride going in the wrong direction. So I'm speaking with her as she's drunk, terrified in the back of this Uber. They stop at a red light. This guy also doesn't speak English. Stop at a red light. She gets out of the car and she's standing at this really sketchy gas station. So I'm just talking with her, trying to talk her off the ledge. Meanwhile, her phone is dying. Anyway, she finally manages to get Uber who speaks English, who's taking her to the right place. Cool, but that was still like a 45-minute roller coaster of emotions. So that's what I was doing. The room that I was in had a queen-size bed and a dresser that had no clothes in it. There was no other furniture. There was no decoration or anything. The room that Masha was in, it had like these 2 kids' beds, a dresser that was facing the wrong direction, and it just looked like it was meant to make it look like kids lived there. It had like Mickey Mouse sheets and just like no other decoration. Crab was downstairs. I guess the referee, the whatever dude, finished watching that Royal Rumble and then proceeded to watch another Royal Rumble. So I don't, from what I heard from Crab was that this guy was up till like 4 a.m. just watching wrestling. He then proceeded to wake up at like 8 a.m. to watch more wrestling. I woke up in the morning, went downstairs. I think he was watching maybe the Royal Rumble from 95, something like that. It was definitely mid-90s. Anyway, we left there. We were kind of convinced that this dude just murdered the family that lived there and was just squatting there.
Oh God!
So that was my little side story. Fast forward through the wrestling, everything. We're leaving maybe around 4 or 5 o'clock Sunday evening, and as we're leaving, we just finished the match. And Crab tells me, "It's like, I feel like shit. I got like no sleep last night. This guy kept me up till like 4 a.m. just watching this. He didn't turn off the lights or turn down the volume or anything." I was like, "Oh, geez, crap. Okay, yeah, I'll take care of the driving, whatever." So then I get that text message from my mom saying that the snow had already kind of started down there. Okay, great. So that's the situation I'm facing going into the drive. So we leave, we start driving down. No major problems until we hit Connecticut. When we hit Connecticut, I think my GPS said that there were about 2.5 hours left in the drive. When we hit Connecticut, it started snowing. When we hit Connecticut, I was no longer able to go above probably 40 miles an hour in any given point.
Ooh.
Until I hit New Jersey. So for anyone who wants to talk crap about New Jersey, say what you want about paying tolls to leave. We know how to handle it when snow falls. F you Connecticut, F you New York. Anyway.
Hey.
I know what I said.
I know.
And he means it.
I know what I said.
It's okay, Jersey spells.
Okay,
New York spells.
Yes, it does. So what?
No, New York spells worse.
You know, New Jersey wrote me a letter and it said, "You smell too." And then,
how did they know?
you smell that bad, apparently. So,
damn,
we hit Connecticut. It's snowing. Maybe an hour into it, we pull up on an accident on the side of the road. When I say we pulled up on an accident, it's not like you pull up and there's already, fire trucks and police cars and everything already there. No, we pull up right as like the first police car does. So somehow we managed to get wedged between. So directly, it was a 2-lane highway. Directly in front of us on our left was the ambulance. Directly in front of us was a police car. Directly behind us was a fire truck. And then I think there was another police car like in the other lane. All of them have their lights on. And so we're sandwiched between these vehicles with their lights and everything on. Meanwhile, Masha is in the front seat just flipping out.
Oh, no.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we were literally sitting there as people were, like, loading up the ambulance in front of us.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so that was another probably 20, 30 minutes that we're just sitting there. Thank God I still had gas. We proceed to go on with the drive. And there were definitely points where I'm thinking to myself, I was like, oh, I should stop. I should not be driving. You know, like those points where you're driving like 10 miles an hour. And it's like, you know, it's only 10 p.m. I'm not that tired. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it.
I can't do it.
Here's the amazing thing. I did it.
Damn.
Bravo.
I did that. That was probably the dumbest thing that I've done in a while. Don't applaud me for that. I drove back from Maine by myself through this giant blizzard. It added about 2 hours to the drive, but I did it. Because Crab was too tired to drive, and Masha is from New York. Also, F you, New York.
Wow.
He's on that.
No,
Gotta love wrestling fans, though.
No, come back here.
No, if I go back there and I get booed for not liking New York, like, all the better.
Yeah, T.
I think that's like the Connecticut, I think that's like the New England, New York thing. Some odd reason. It's just like y'all are like East Coast, West Coast beef levels.
Well, I'm a New Yorker who hates the Yankees, so.
Shocking.
So, are you a Mets fan?
Yes.
Ew.
But if the Dodgers were still in Brooklyn, I'd be a fan of theirs.
Well, my dad's originally from Brooklyn, and every time the Mets play the Phillies and the Mets win, he sends me text messages just saying "ha" in all caps.
Oh.
So, after this very bizarre road trip, and you drop Masha off, what's the last thing she says to you?
So, originally I was going to drop her off with Chris Levin, but Chris lived maybe another hour south of me. So what we did instead was we stopped and we stayed with my parents, who are about an hour north, still in New Jersey. So we stayed there. Like, they've got guest rooms that they always, you know, wrestlers are always welcome to. The condition is that you have to sign an 8x10 for them to hang on the wall in the guest room.
Okay.
So, Masha stayed in the guest room, Crab stayed in the other room, and then I slept on the couch. The following morning, when things started to melt and the roads were a little bit better cleared, I drove her the rest of the way to meet up with Chris Levin. I have no idea what she said to me at the end of the trip, but I'm pretty sure she owes me a drink.
I'd say maybe a steak too.
I mean, if we could just have another match, I'd call it square.
Well, speaking of upcoming matches, we did interview Kennedi Copeland a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago to be exact. And she told us to tell you that you are afraid of her, and if you were a real man, you'd wrestle her in the ring.
Oh God.
Your response?
All facts.
I would say Chris Pratt emoji.
Oh.
Arts and Rack Chris Pratt emoji or
No,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. She'll if she's listening to this, she'll know exactly what emoji I mean.
Okay.
She, real truth or whatever. She's someone I very much want to have a match with. I think we were meant to wrestle on a few different occasions, but it just never really worked out. We were going to wrestle at Limitless, but it was one of those things where I was already wrestling 3 or 4 matches, and it's like I don't think I could physically handle another match right now. We were meant to wrestle at Pizza Party, but then I went up to Limitless instead. And sort of at this point, I feel like the match needs to happen at Pizza Party, just because we've gotten Pizza Dan on board.
Well,
Yeah.
First and foremost, somebody booked this damn match.
Yeah.
And second of all, that begs the question: pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
I don't really care much one way or another. I'm not offended by it. I've had it before. I don't really see what the big deal is. I don't know. Why not pineapple and pizza? I don't think it benefits either of them. Putting them together, it's kind of just a thing.
All right. And who's your spirit Pokemon?
Man, what's the one? Ursaring? Is that the evolved bear thing?
Yes.
It's the big one?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, probably a bear.
All right. And the weirdest question you'll ever be asked ever: would you ever consider wrestling a rock? An
Wrestling a
actual
rock?
Not Dwayne Johnson, an actual
no?
rock.
Okay. Not
I
the
don't know if
Texas.
I don't know if that's the weirdest question I've ever had, but I definitely think I could wrestle a rock. I'd almost take it as a challenge to get a good match out of a rock.
Well, just for context, there's this guy named Psycho Mike that wrestled the Rock for over 15 minutes in what was billed as a Iron Man match that lasted 2 weeks.
It was very almost Chikara-esque in a way.
I think it was maybe
person.
old Chikara-esque.
I mean, they had a swimming pool battle royal.
You said it Camp Leapfrog.
But that was actually literally in a backyard where they actually literally had somebody come out, go into the pool, and come out as Jason.
Huh.
Backyard pool, it's a hell of a thing.
Quarantine makes us do some weird yet very entertaining things.
Oh, I'm aware.
And
I watched Tiger King probably 6 times in a row.
Carol bask in his glory.
no,
Carol Baskin. Oh gosh.
could you tell us about wrestling a bear and why is that something you want to do so adamantly?
So here's the thing. If you can beat a bear, you can beat anyone. Like all those greats out there wrestled bears. Stu Hart, Harley Race, they all wrestled bears. They were all great wrestlers. So it's just one of those things. It's the ultimate test. A bear is the ultimate thing to fight. Again, if you could beat a bear, you can beat anyone.
But what if the bear beats you?
Well, that's not the point. You wanna go out there. You want to go out there and wrestle. You wanna beat the bear to prove it to yourself. If you lost to a bear, so what? You lost to a bear. Like that's not. I don't think that's gonna like take away from you as a person or a wrestler. Like, cool, you lost to a bear. But if you beat the bear, then like everyone else is like, holy shit, this guy beat a bear.
Got nothing to lose.
Exactly.
Except your arms and legs.
I mean, like, yeah. Find a way to overcome.
Minute
yeah,
stuff.
they're overrated.
Minute.
Yeah, they're overrated. Legs and arms.
You know, I'm not going to be held down by the ableist society.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry if that offended anyone.
We need to.
No, screw the snowflakes.
Could we
This is our wheelhouse. Our wheelhouse.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any simpler answer to that. Like, beat a bear and beat anyone. It's just want to do it.
I'm speaking directly to Randy Carver now. Book the match.
Really, I feel like you might have better luck with Pizza Party Dan.
Pizza Party Dan?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they could get a bear into Limitless.
So this is maybe one. I keep going off on these random stories.
Please do.
So I some time ago I had a match at Bizarro Lucha. It was the company that was run by Trip Cassidy, who, you know, was in the Carnies with Kerry Awful. While I was there, you know, Kerry runs a school down in Tennessee. He runs, I forget the name of the school, but he also runs Crux. I believe he runs it. Anyway, while I was talking to him at Bizarro, he told me that he really wanted to film like a video or a vignette or something where I meet Tracy Smothers, and Tracy Smothers teaches me how to wrestle a bear.
Oh my God.
And that, I think, is a massive missed opportunity. Also, rip Tracy Smothers.
Yes, with Tracy Smothers. Underrated guy.
Damn, that would have been awesome.
Well, Tracy Smothers' bear, his match with the bear was the inspiration for the scene in the Will Ferrell movie that I can't, Semi-Pro.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that scene.
Scooter, do you have any last questions you want to ask Travis?
Yes. Now, your finisher for the most part is the stretch muffler. And watching some of your matches, you pulled out some very innovative modifications to the stretch muffler. For example, you applied the stretch muffler with a body scissors, or a triangle, as some people might call it, which was beyond bizarre to see. As I didn't even think that was possible. What is the most unusual variation you've applied of the stretch muffler?
So I think it was this. I keep going off on different stories. I remember the last time I was at Beyond Wrestling, I was in a match with Thomas Santel, and on commentary, Sidney Bacavella said that he said something like, "I'm the master of 1,000 mufflers." Yeah, they called me. He called me master of 1,000 mufflers, maybe master of 1,000 muffs, maybe the muff master. I think he called me some variation of that. But yeah, the goal is to find as many different weird ways to it. So I've done a few. I've done some with a leg in, like doing an STF. I've done some with the arm trapped, like a tequila sunrise. I've done two different versions on the body scissor. The one was against Green Ant. The other one was a variation of the bear trap with the arm capture and the body scissor. That was the Ashley Vox.
Yes.
Yes.
I've done one with the legs figure forward. That was at a Chikara show at a brewery. Goodness, how many other versions of that? I think one of my favorites might have been the one I did to Everett Connors, the swinging one where he's got that cardboard cutout of Justin Bieber.
What?
That is one of my favorite visuals. I'm giving him the swinging stretch muffler as he's holding on to a cardboard cutout of Justin Bieber, and it's just going everywhere. Anyway, I think I did one to Jay Lyon at Frog Sport where I was able to take my other foot and almost like stand on his head as I'm doing it.
Oh, good lord.
This just turned into me trying to remember all the different versions of it.
I'd like you to come out one week with just a long list and just say, I'm the man of 1,004 mufflers. The first one, armbar muffler. 2, arm drag muffler.
Well, I've since redubbed it to Bear Trap because I'm not the biggest fan of the name Muffler. But yeah, I've got the Bear Trap, which is I kind of trap the other arm with it as well.
Yeah.
So there's one day, I don't know how I'm gonna do it yet, but I want to do something called the inverted bear trap. So I have a rough idea of the visual of it, but I kind of want to do it just because that is a saw trap.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with like other wrestlers a few years ago about coming up with names for moves, and one of them had an idea of just naming them after saw traps, and I think it's fantastic. I've wanted to do something called a reverse bear trap for a long time now. I've done something that I've called shotgun carousel.
So that's it.
Nice.
But yeah, the most interesting version of the bear trap will probably be the inverted bear trap whenever I figure out how to do that.
And honestly, I can't wait to see it happen. Kaliko, you have a colossal question.
I do, but before that question, I have one more, which is, what did Love Doug do to you to get him on his team? Because I feel like Love Doug is the guy that everyone at Limitless despises. But he loves us. We love him. But what did he do to you? How did he win you over?
So you want another stupid rant / promo?
Please do.
Let's get it.
So you know of you guys familiar with My Hero Academia?
Yes.
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 Guess who my favorite character on that show is?
What is her name? The one with with Gentle Criminal.
As soon as you said her, I knew it was no. Any
Katsuki?
Thinking. Hold on.
So I'm terrible with names, but I don't think it's that person.
Ijiro?
Who's that? What's
Guy
his
with
quirk?
a mask? Who's got a mask on his face, pointy red hair?
Red hair, no.
Let's see.
It's not
Do you want me to?
You just said
Do you want?
From a
Do you want me to
contract.
just tell you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
tap out.
Uh, I think his name's like Mineta,
Moneta,
the
yes.
guy with the sticky balls on his head.
Yes.
So he is. I'm not bullshitting you or anything. He is my favorite character on that show. The reason. So the reason he is my favorite character on that show. So I think there's a few sort of reasons to it. First of all, he's got a very simple motivation towards everything that he does. Everything that he does is derived from one very simple motivation. He wants to be a famous superhero because he wants to get laid.
He's a pervert.
Yes.
He's an apathetic pervert.
So yes, he is a pervert. Yes, that is very true. But also, everything that he does is steered by that sort of vision. Secondly, I think anyone who's in an can relate to that to a tiny extent. They likely outgrown it at this point, but there's part of it that's like it's sort of relatable. It's like kind of pathetic, but also sort of relatable. Are you following me with this so far?
Yes.
So it's simple motivation. It's a relatable motivation. Everything is steered by that one sort of goal. Also, this dude is, when you say fail hard, he cannot fail any harder. So the scene that I think of was like they're at like the hot springs or something, and the dude tries to climb the wall to go spy on girls. While he's up there, someone like knocks him down, and this dude falls straight to the ground. His towel falls off. I think he lands on his face, just exposed butt, just hanging in the air. It's just it's I don't want to call it pathetic. It's but like this dude isn't like overly concerned with being that cool guy. You know, sure, having fire and ice powers is cool and all, but also you're this brooding little mope and like whatever. Like, you know, I think my favorite characters in fiction or any other sort of media are ones with flaws. I think that makes them far more interesting. It also makes them far more relatable. Anyway, this dude fails hard, is massive pervert and everything. He's like this chicken shit coward. It goes on and on and on. And like the one or two times that he actually like subverts this, he actually helps out. Think of when they were attacking the school, and it's him and Tetsuya, I think her name is, the frog girl.
Sue.
Sue, yeah. So it's him and Sue, and like they work together, and like they actually stop the bad guys. Like because he puts his cowardice aside, he actually helps us save the day. So like he's endearing in that end. And then also, like despite him being sleazy and like terrible and everything, the terrible sort of things that he does stops at mischief. He's not an actual villain. Sure, he goes to spy on people, but he never actually succeeds in it. Like he goes and does the thing, like all the girls know he's gonna spy on him, but so they're able to stop him. And at that point, it's kind of like, oh, you perv, like slap on the wrist, like don't do it again. Not slap on the wrist, like beat the crap out of him, but you get the idea.
Yes.
Like, you know, he doesn't have any sort of intense. At the end of the day, he still fights for the good team. So that's my big giant rant on that certain character. You might not like my motivations, but I hope you could at least follow them and understand why I feel this way. I think Love Doug is the very same sort of way. I think Love Doug, he's got very simple motivations. He wants love. He's also got very relatable motivations. Again, he wants love. I think a lot of people as humans can relate to that. Like any of the sort of things, like take season 1 or 2 of The Road, I think it was, where he's like obsessed with Ava Everett. Like he does certain things, like somehow he gets in his car, but it's just because he wanted to like, spend time with her. It's like creepy, but also like he's not hurting anyone. It's kind of like, oh, Doug's being Doug. So if anything, like his bad sort of stuff is mischief. And again, this dude fails hard. He went he was on a 0-16 losing streak. Every single match he lost. He wanted to find love, he wanted to wrestle someone, and then he loses. But he's still like going for it.
Yeah, he just won a match.
Was that?
I mean, he just won a match like a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because of everything that happened to it, that his one win means so much more, because he was on this giant 16 match losing streak. Like it was so I'm not trying to bury the guy or anything, but like not to call him pathetic, but that's almost sort of what it was. Like you at a point him to win. So I think it's all stuff like that. That's why I have a Love Doug t-shirt.
Well, that was definitely the most unique comparison to something we've ever had on the show, without a doubt.
I love it though. I
Yes.
love it because that is like the deepest dive, and I love that. But you don't feel bad calling him pathetic, because everyone's called him pathetic except for us. We can.
People have said a lot worse about Doug, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's got a lot worse. Yeah.
You call him pathetic, and then like 5 minutes later, he's right back at it. It was like, do you love me? They love me.
But that also begs another. Yeah. Continue.
I'm gonna wrestle him one day. I'm gonna wrestle him one day, and I'm gonna beat the out of him, and I'll feel bad about it, but it'll be fun.
But that
Well,
also
like they
begs
say,
the
if you love
question,
someone, tell them the truth.
did you steal Becca's holiday scrunchie?
No, I did not. What would
He's not that
barely
type.
have hair. What would I do with it?
Exactly. So he's not that type. He's Travis freaking Huckabee. He ain't trying to steal no scrunchie.
Well,
what would I want with a scrunchie?
I don't know your motivations for why you want a scrunchie, Travis. Now,
I wish I could go on a 15-minute rant of why I don't care for scrunchies, but
Kaliko, you have a colossal question.
See,
yes,
I went from
Cyclops
Love Duck and the Collapsus Colossal.
Yes, Cyclops is my first man.
Oh man, really? Cyclops?
Oh, I thought that's what you were getting at, talking about Colossus.
No, try Mike Law.
So we named this question after Mike Law because I asked him this question, and it kind of broke the colossal one, but
it was the question that broke Mike Law.
Yeah. So you've had a very extensive career, and one of the things that I always ask is, based on your wrestling career, if you happen to have, let's say they make a soundtrack to your wrestling career, what would be the first 3 songs that you pick that closely resembles your entire wrestling career?
the terrible thing is that my first thought goes to entrance music that I've had. Also, my first ever entrance music, I absolutely hated. Oh my god, it was terrible.
Any music, your favorite iPod music, your favorite. But gee, people don't carry iPods anymore. Anything in your Rolodex of musical memories.
So maybe this will sort of cover some of it. I think in my early career, I feel like it would be a lot more innocent than whatever it kind of is now. Will be a good one. I don't know. I feel like the kind of vibe would be like Weezer or something. Not to say that they're innocent, but that kind of vibe. It's a bit more upbeat.
Ooh, Weezer.
Something from them. Then at a point, like when I first became a villain, I was just very angry. And that might be maybe some Silverstein. What's the song? Either I'm an Arsonist or on Brave Mountains, whatever the rest of the name of that song is. Yeah, that was very angry sort of stuff.
On Brave Mountains We Conquer.
Yes, that was it.
Okay.
And then I think ever since COVID and everything, I've really sort of, I don't say mellowed out, but I think I look at it and all the time that I spent, whether it's being angry or jealous or whatever, I'm really sort of past that. Not past, I don't want to say like never, but I think at this point it's kind of just like jaded, tired, looking at it. It's like, yeah, I remember being angry. So that's vibes I really feel like Turner Beans on Toast. Maybe Frank Turner. Something from him. The Way I Tend to Be. That's. I think that was. I think looking at like failed relationships or something, but I think it's that same kind of retrospective, maybe bittersweet, reminiscing vibe.
Almost hoping to be
something like that.
Almost hoping to be saved by that obsession, almost.
Yeah, some kind of like, it sounds sweet, but it's like you had to go through some of this terrible stuff to where you are now.
And I got you.
I don't know. I would have wanted something maybe a little bit more optimistic, because by no means am I that like down in the hole. But general feelings and vibes, maybe.
All right.
If
So
we're
are you locking
looking
those
at
in, or is it a soft lock?
What's up?
Are you locking in your answers, or is it a soft lock? You're still iffy.
Maybe it's if I'm using the first few years as me telling a story, but I definitely think the as far as in sequence, I think the last one would be Frank.
All right.
Probably Angry in the Middle. I like some older Silverstein, so probably them. One of their songs, probably. Beginning, the first one of it. I think the beginning is the hardest one to think about.
So, right. The next question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
God. Let me think of where I'm at right now. So my big goal is to be at a point where I could wrestle as my full-time job. So ideally, that situation 5 years from now, I can wrestle and have that pay my living. Ideally, it's something where I can travel. Who knows what COVID will do or what the next natural disaster will be. But I would like to make my living through wrestling, or it's on some TV company, or whether it's on the independents or elsewise. Yeah, making my living, traveling, ideally overseas to the UK.
Any particular promotion in the UK?
Not particularly. It's really more so that with the style and stuff that I enjoy, it's got those influences. I would very much love the opportunity to go over there and learn from those type of people. You know, I've got some kind of bucket list item where I want to buy, like, Steve Gray a cup of coffee or tea or whatever. I've gotten to do that with Johnny Kidd, so that's cool. Yeah, just an opportunity to meet some of these people that really inspired me and have a conversation. I've gotten to meet Steve Gray, but I think I was so early in my career I could barely talk to him about it.
Not quite there yet.
Yeah, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
But see what there is to learn, and you know, people talk about destinations, and say what you will about NXT UK. That would be like I wouldn't look at that as any sort of downgrade or anything if that's where I ended up 5 years from now, if that's still a thing.
Interesting. And what is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what Travis Huckabee is all about?
So I'll just make that plug for Limitless again. At the time this gets released, my match We More will have been out. That in recent memory, I think it's a great demonstration of the stuff that I enjoy doing. Yeah.
And you can find that match on
it just got released.
Well, by the time this comes out, it should be released, correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
That's wrestling on.
And you can find that on IWTV.
Yes. The show is getting released on 7th. Yes. The show gets released on May 7th, so it should definitely be out for, you know, replay to see by then.
Yes. All right, and we are nearing the conclusion of this interview. So we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is our bonus round, our speed round, the round where we see who Travis Huckabee really is. Are you ready, Travis?
Quick round, I'm screwed. Sure. Let's give it a go.
These are all opinion based.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
William Regal.
Worst wrestler of all time.
I tell you, James, nobody wants to answer this question anymore.
All I can think of is like
What did you say?
like anyone who quit on their first day.
Anybody who quit on their first day?
You said anybody that quits on their first day?
Well, if we're talking like, subjectively as a wrestler,
Interesting.
who can I throw under the bus that it's cool to throw under the bus? James Ellsworth, he was a giant creep.
I will accept that answer. See, Scooter, we got one.
There are a lot of
Your main event in WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who was your opponent?
Matt Mikowski.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Remind me later. I got a story for this. William Regal, Man's Man. Either that or Maven's theme. Maven's theme was a banger.
All good picks.
There's so many underrated ones. 3-minute warning, good.
Oh,
I don't
yes.
care who you are. 3-minute warning. Christian, old Randy Orton theme.
Burning my light.
Even like, I know he's name redacted right now, but Chris Benoit had a good theme.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Chris Benoit is here and he's really mad. Chris Benoit is here and he's really angry. I love that.
Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Fluid.
Huh?
What was that? Can you... Hello?
Do you need context for that?
We didn't pick it up.
The audio cut out.
I'd say kayfabe is fluid.
Okay.
All right.
We also would have accepted is quite good on toast.
Squash. Fruit or vegetable?
What's that?
Squash. Fruit or vegetable?
Vegetable.
Told y'all. Told y'all.
I guess technically, technically it's a berry. If we're going down to like scientific terms,
Yes,
Technically, it's a
it
yeah,
is.
it's a fruit.
It is a seed-bearing fruit.
I remember.
Well, you may have gotten the question wrong, but you're in good graces with Kaliko Yachts.
think I
You're part
remember
of Squash Squad, and that means a hell of a lot more.
about this.
Honestly, anyone that says vegetable never gets the question wrong.
New Japan wrestler Taichi. His ring gear gets smaller every year.
I guess is a gourd.
No, it's a fruit.
I mean, it's really just kind of like.
Oh, believe me, we've had this conversation before. Too often do we have this.
Well, I think it's like, what is it? And like anything that grows, it's like, spinach is leaf. Oh, tomato is technically a berry. Some kind of thing like that. Something is a gourd. Something's a tuber.
Well, when it comes down to it, the essential scientific definition is between fruit and vegetable, and then it splits off from there.
Mm.
I'm sorry. I went to an agricultural school.
That's what I said too. Whatever.
New Japan
you do you.
New Japan wrestler Taichi. His ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question: what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
Well, I think some of it comes down to like your under trunks too. I think Lance Storm tweeted something about, "Hey dudes, get a G-string because that'll make your butt look good, and you wanna do that for like women can be wrestling fans too or something like that. So you're trying to give them a show." It's something that Lance Storm tweeted. Butt to gear ratio? It depends on the person. Like, I don't have the greatest butt in wrestling. I'm sure if I did, I'd probably show off more of it. But like, if you can do it and you could pull it off, like, go ahead, live your truth. Do what makes you happy.
And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
No.
And that is the correct answer. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with us, Travis.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Once again, could you tell us where we can find you on social media?
You can find me Instagram and Twitter, same handle at Travis_Huckabee. You can find me everywhere, places like Camp for All Women's Wrestling, Party Wrestling, and a handful of other ones there.
You have merchandise? You have merchandise?
It's released. I'm on it. I'm setting up a What a Maneuver account, and I've got a new design. I don't know if it'll be ready by then or not.
Well, whenever it's ready, right afterwards, I will update the video. All of those descriptions, all those links will be in the description of the video below. Give this guy a follow when his merchandise is up. I mean, you've been listening to him for almost 2 hours. Buy a damn sword. And, of course, if you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, vote on YouTube and Castbox. Join us this Saturday as we talk everything WWE, AEW, everything in between. Next Wednesday on the show, we interview Jules Malone. And you can also find the show on Twitter and Instagram as well as at Wrestling with E. Of course, this episode was sponsored by Rogue Energy. Use promo code Wrestling with E for 10% off your next purchase. And you can follow us individually as well. I am at JamesJ993. Where can they find Scooter?
Of course, you can always find me up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's a guy who forgot his parachute. And you can find me on Twitter at ScooterDust and hold it down for the UNB network at UNBS Wrestling.
And where can they find Kaliko?
Well, you can find me below, like really low, like pregnant ant low, at I am Kaliko.
For very special guest Travis Huckabee, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.